Hey, what's up everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I feel a lot better than I did this morning. I slept the wrong way and had my throat sounding bad for the Laker video that I made earlier. So gargled, ate a good breakfast, did a little exercise, and I'm 100% right now. So right now, I wanted to talk about the Lakers because, well, the team, they're playing okay. I mean, I'm not going to kill them for their overall performance over the last 2 weeks because they really have won more games than they've lost. It's just that the losses that we've taken were taken against teams that we really have a hard time competing with, which in theory is not the worst sign in the world because it's not like you're losing games you're not supposed to lose when you consider who you're expected to beat versus what it is we struggle with. We struggle with what we're prone to struggle with. The Sacramento Kings and De'Aaron Fox running passes, and Jokic and the Nuggets beating us in close games. So all things considered, when you consider we're going up against everybody else and pretty much having success, including games against the OKC Thunder and the Los Angeles Clippers without Paul George. You know, we did have that Wizards game that kind of scared us, but we closed it out. So it's like there's a lot to say that isn't negative. It's just that you want this team to be on a championship level with our timeline, and we're just not there. We don't have that type of upside. What we are is a 10th seed. And as I've heard others say, and I have to agree, that's kind of who we are. That's what we've been all year. I told you guys preseason we were a mediocre to average ball club. Just average. We're not great. We're not bad. But we're average, and so we're in a playing tournament situation. And that is what you would expect from a team that's shown itself to be this all year. They're not consistent, but they have high-level talent. And so that's just what it is. When you have a team like that, plus we run into the injury bug, which has kind of stumped our growth quite a bit. Second-year coach who's not overly gifted, you know what I mean? You are exactly where you expect to be for a team to be this who we are. I mean, we're not in the greatest of spots, to be honest with you, because of our timeline. We would like to be in a championship contender level, or feel as if we can have more control over our destiny at this point in the season. But the way the West is set up, what you really want is an opportunity at a playoff spot. Once you have that, then it's about what can you do when you get there and strategizing against other teams. We got to get into the playoffs, and then we can say, all right, well, we fell amongst the stars. You shoot for the moon and you fall amongst the stars. And that is ultimately what we're hoping our franchise can do this season. If y'all listen to my rant that I made yesterday, you know that my expectations for this team is much better than that. Franchise, for who we are, for what this is supposed to be about, I expect more at all times. I'm never ever happy with just being all right. And so I'm not going to pretend like I am right now. If I were a Sacramento Kings fan or an Orlando Magic fan, maybe even a Houston Rockets fan, you know, those type of teams who haven't had overly crazy success or any success at all, then yeah, you know, it's a good place to be, because this is showing us that what we've done hasn't completely failed. Like I said, landing amongst the stars. You want to be better than bad for sure, especially if you're not in a rebuilding situation. And so all things considered, we're about better than bad. Problem is, the ceiling of what it is that we have, coupled with what it is that our expectations are for our franchise, you almost feel like rebuilding, to be honest with you. Even though a rebuild can really suck, man, it can really suck. What you do when you rebuild, if you're doing it correctly, is resetting your situation. You get back picks, and then you get to build from a standpoint where you can stack more talent than what we're able to right now, given the fact that we've mortgaged a lot of what we've had. And one of the reasons why we're mediocre is because of the bad decisions that we've made with players, letting them leave our organization. And the reason why those bad decisions were made was because we were trying to do a lot with a little, having mortgaged so much. It's easy to make mistakes when you have such a small budget. Trying to build a basketball team with a player like LeBron. So it's like, when you look at that situation, it's like you can see why this team has made some of the mistakes they made. You can see why they had struggles, had opportunities go by the wayside and keeping players that they really like and stuff like that. You can see it. Why we felt we needed a point guard in the draft, because it's so hard for us to find a tall point guard. You know what I mean? These are the type of things that you prioritize when you don't have the ability to just reach out and grab everything you want. And that's kind of why I'm in a space where I almost support the idea of restarting our whole situation. I mean, it's not a perfect thought, because at the end of the day, I don't know that I trust this front office right now to give me the best front line of players through the draft. When you pass on Cam Whitmore and you draft Jalen Hood-Schifino, I'm not gonna have all the faith in you to upstart my rebuild, man. That's just really what it comes down to. But headed down the road that we're on, do I think we can get much better with Bron and AD than we are right now? Not based on what it is we have to bring to them to make them better. Not based on the way the market has been toward us while having them. We just can't get a lot better, man. And so if this is what we're shooting for, and if this is good enough for some it may be, and that's ultimately what we're looking at. Team will be okay. You know, we'll have star players that'll keep people in the uniform. Cool. We'll, you know what I mean, be a play-in tournament team. Maybe win the in-season tournament again. Maybe that's better than what you think we can do if we rebuild. Maybe we're going to suck for a long time if we rebuild. Even if we do it the right way, we're going to have some extremely down seasons trying to build through the draft. Have to go through a Washington Wizards year. You got to go through the Rockets period, where these teams are right now, where they're building all this talent, but it's taking time. That's what the rebuild is. We went through that. You know, and it took about 7 years to get us into a space where we were happy with the young talent. And we're able to trade that young talent for LeBron James. So when you talk about being frustrated, if you're going to upstart your rebuild, you lower your expectations to the ground. And you don't even expect to win. Now, we had fun doing that to a degree. I remember the year when we had the second overall pick, got Lonzo. The year we had the second overall pick, got B.I. The year we had the 7th overall pick and got Randall. Those weren't terrible years because your expectations were low. You know, you were running around guys that worked very good, and you ran around a guy like Clarkson. He was young. Then you had the 3 power forwards with athleticism, and Kuzma, Nance, and Randall. Those were fun years, but you weren't winning very much. But I think our rebuild can go a lot better, because in that situation, we were starting from scratch. Kobe had retired, so we weren't able to trade his value to bring back young pieces or bring back draft equity. Powell retired or left in our uniform. He left us for little to nothing. We weren't able to trade him for a peak amount of value. Your rebuild can go horribly if that type of thing happens. It can be extremely slow, and that's what we went through last time. It's a very slow rebuild. If we were to trade Bron and AD, our rebuild don't have to be that slow necessarily. We could trade them dudes for good picks that could be to manifest very soon, or things that we can retrade very soon. And so it's like, you know, I don't want to look in my mind's eye and see the rebuild taking 7 or 8 years. It doesn't have to if you start doing things a certain way. However, I don't know that we're going to do that. We're not going to probably move Bron like that. We're probably not going to get anything for him. If he does leave, it'll probably be under his own record. This team looks to get stars, so if they do anything at all, they're probably going to throw $200 million at a guy like Trae Young, as to which we're going to expedite that timeline anyway, so we would never actually go through a rebuild. It would be more so a retooling and us trying to get another star next to him if we can't keep AD. So it's like the Lakers' mindset for always needing a star in place will always keep them in a position where they'll never quite start with so much, and as a result won't have the ability to always bring themselves what it is that they want. And that's why I don't want us to care about having a superstar in place as we upstart our rebuild, because the key to the rebuild is to make sure that you have enough so that whenever you do decide to do anything, it will be plenty from which to pull from. If you don't reset properly, you won't ever have that. And any Trae Young-like superstar you bring in after Bron has got the same problem having talent around him as you are bringing around Bron right now, because you never actually have the best leverage from which to trade with the equity and stuff in place that you accumulate in your reset. So that is the thing. I want to be in a position to soup up my team like crazy. And the best way for me to do that is through the draft, having everyone's bird rights, and the players that I draft being extra talented and superstars in their own right. And I don't care to skip steps. And then I can bring Trae Young to that team. You see what I'm saying? Or whatever the equivalent would be at that point. That's the best way to build. Then you can soup your team up all the way. And you can afford to pay the dudes that you love on your team $300 million like the Boston Celtics are doing and still have a championship level team. You see what I'm saying? But if you always skipping steps and always mortgaging future and always trying to have a star in place no matter what level of your timeline you're on, just because you're the Lakers, then you won't actually be able to bring that star what it takes for him to actually be as good as he wants to be on his, his team. So I just know what it takes to do things correctly, and skipping steps in this league is the best way to assure that you mess up. It's the absolute best way to assure you mess up. And I just think that our team and our franchise, with the expectations it has for itself, is prone to do that based on the moment it's in at all times in a need to have a star, if that makes any sense. No matter what moment on the calendar it is, we're expected to not only have stars, but be great around those stars. The question I would pose to the Lakers is, do you know how to get there properly so that you will have what the stars can bring to the table and the role players that can ultimately make them a champion? Do you know how to get there? Because as long as you're doing things the way you're doing it, you'll never get there. You'll always be behind the 8 ball at some point in time on your roster. There'll be some guys that shouldn't be there because you couldn't afford to bring them the right guys. And it's going to be because you skipped steps and decided to do things in a fast way. And it's just, I just understand this inherently. And then you're going to want to make moves, and other GMs are going to understand that you cannot make them do anything they don't want to do, because you're not going to have the leverage to do it based on you not having that much to begin with from which to work. And you're going to be getting outbid for certain things. Superstars are not going to be as pleased to be there. Your next guy may not be as dedicated to being a Laker as maybe Bron is, and will probably leave you because you can't get him what he needs. So, I mean, it is what it is. You can either choose to do things the wrong way and be working with less, or you can reset your situation properly when you decide it's time to, and just sacrifice those years where you're just not going to have that superstar. But you know what you're building toward, and you make sure you do the right things to ensure you have it. And so that's my thing. It's like, do I want to reset? I don't know if that's the best path for this franchise, because if they're trying to reset, then they're not going to have Bron. You're not going to have AD for at least another 4 years. You're not going to have nothing like that. And it's going to be like them soccer years and them young kid years where the Lakers are going to be a laughing stock and people are going to be looking at us like we're trash. But you got to understand, you're going to be resetting with a purpose. It's not going to be like you're recovering from something that went wrong necessarily. It's going to be you initiating the process of doing things correctly for the very first time. And if you do it correctly, you will get through the draft, and by way of your leverage and picks and players that you accumulate throughout this rebuild, the ability to put together something extremely special, and then the draw of the LA market from which to attract anything that wants to play with that. That is a much more sustainable plan toward the greatness that your fans demand than constantly mortgaging things to get the star to be in place to be underachieved because you couldn't bring him what he needed. And so it's about financial basketball health. And for what it is we want to be, you're always going to be expected to win a championship. It ain't just about bringing stars to the team. You got to bring the players next to them, the Robert Horrys and Rick Foxes and Brian Shaws that can really win. If not, then it's just going to be superstars in a situation where they're not quite good enough in a ever increasing Western Conference, where teams are going to learn to do things correctly and you're going to be behind the 8 ball because you're one of the ones that didn't. It's very simple. Do things the right way, get the right results. Do things the wrong way and suffer what comes with that. It is very simple. And so that's what I'm trying to express to you guys in regards to this team. I understand what the demands are, but do you know how to get to where you want to be? Or are you just trying to skip steps to meet the moment? And do you understand that that puts you in a position to not have the leverage against teams who know you're going to be that way, who can use that against you? That's what it really comes down to. You got to understand the team's going to use that, for which I just described, as a means to always have a leverage on you, because you ain't trying to do nothing but meet the moment, and the moment fails you when it comes to what it is that you ultimately going to want to do overall. The moment fails you. We were able to draft fantastic players, and that's why we had Showtime. We had Kobe Bryant as the 18th or 17th overall, I don't never know. I think it's the 18th overall pick, and his draft rights. And as a result, we were able to attract Shaquille O'Neal. If you didn't have that piece, and you didn't have the money to pay Shaq, he'd have still been in Orlando after that. You needed stuff in place to be attractive in it. That's what the Lakers got to understand. You can't just, okay, I got a star, all right, he retired, all right, let's bring another one. Now that other one is not going to be playing with nobody because you didn't reset your situation and you were starting from a place of disadvantage with what it is that you had. So on one hand, you're saying, okay, well, maybe with the stars, I could just bring myself 3 stars and get lucky, build a super team. But you're going to be in a situation where, again, once it's time to make the team better, not only are you over the cap and over the luxury tax and all these other different things they keep putting in, but you're also in a place where GMs like myself would tell you, I'm going to make you pay double because I know you're trying to win now. I'm going to want that young piece that you really would rather keep because I know you need to win now. I know you need to keep Trae Young happy. You know what I mean? So it's like, you don't allow people that type of leverage over you by sacrificing the years necessary to get what you need in place and reset your situation properly so you can be rich in picks like OKC, like Utah, like San Antonio, like the Knicks. Rich in picks so that when it's time to make trades, you got the leverage and the market. You know what I'm saying? Not only do I have my picks in place and I'm rich in picks, which is going to make me someone to make a trade with, but I know I got the upper hand on anybody who's going to be a free agent for any of these little teams that's going to be coming around, your little LaMelo Balls and your Luka Doncic. I can take all them dudes from you because not only do I have the LA sunshine, but I also got a OKC plethora of picks. You know what I mean? A young core like what the Rockets got. You know what I mean? So that's what it is. You just got to be willing to do that. You can't just say, okay, 2025 means so much to me. Let me just make sure I have a star in place, and then we just constantly have freaking Taurean Princes and Xavier Henrys playing with them because we can't get nothing better. You know what I mean? Maybe you could trade for, you know, you might be able to trade for an older Tobias Harris type piece. Other than that, you ain't going to be able to make the team as good as you want to be. That player's going to fall short, and the people are going to be blaming you for not being able to bring to him the type of stars that'll help you win. Simple. It's not hard when you really just break it down. A lot can go wrong because you get draft the wrong players. But maybe you just don't, you know what I mean? Maybe if you're so afraid to build through the draft, you just trade the picks for young players. When you bring the picks to you, you don't have to necessarily draft them. You just trade them before you use them. And you trade them for the stuff that ultimately will upstart your rebuild. Trade them for a 23-year-old, you know, that kind of thing. Who's been in the league for a couple years, so you ain't got to go through the development process of this guy. You already know who he's going to be. He's going to be worth 2 or 3 picks, and you'll have him to give if you want to go that route. Then, when you have enough of that, your Wembys are going to want to come to LA. Your Giannis's are going to want to come to LA. You see what I'm saying? So you ain't got to worry about attracting or trading for them. They're going to force their way to you just like AD did, just like Bron did. You ain't got to worry about bringing them. You just got to make sure that everything else, your number 3, your number 4, your number 5, and number 6, is souped up and ready to play the role. Souped up meaning way more talented than most number 3s and number 4s, but ready to play the role in the sense that he ain't going to take away from the number 1 and number 2 you about to attract. So it's like, this is what I want the Lakers to do when it's time. Maybe it ain't time to do that yet. Maybe you look at the numbers, you look at what you're looking at and say, yo, we're not there yet. Maybe the draft don't show me that this is the time to do it. But you start thinking about it. You start preparing yourself for that. You make sure the people are in place, the scouts and everybody you need, so that when it's time to go for it, you got the best people in place for that rebuild. That's what I want my team to start doing, man. You don't just hit this reset button on your rebuild. You start gathering things that you know you need for the plan of the rebuild. And that way, when you do that, your team is in a position to execute that rebuild properly, rather than you just rebuilding and then you're looking for a coach, now you're looking for scouts. Now you have all that in place before the rebuild initiation process. And that way, when it's time to rebuild, you don't need to go get nothing. You have people in place that you have faith in, and you can win. Or you can build a winner. Because that's what it's about, man. Otherwise, we just bringing stars to us that we can't bring stuff to. And then be like, you got to go out there and overachieve. How? How? My teammates garbage. How? You see what I'm saying? So that's what we're trying to overcome here. That's what we talk about. But, yeah, that's where my head is, man. Because at the end of the day, Bron is what, 39, he's gonna be 40 this year. AD's 31, looking like he's going on 37. It's time to start planning for this stuff, man. It's time to start planning for this stuff. No more talking about this, that, and the third. Even D'Lo, you like D'Lo a lot? He's like 27, 28. You know what I mean? Not very athletic. He's gonna be slowing down at some point, quicker than you think, more than likely. Austin Reeves, you drafted him as a 4-year guy. He's already 25. So it's like, we gotta start thinking about the next generation, because Paolo ain't going nowhere. Wemby ain't going nowhere. You understand what I'm saying? Luka ain't going nowhere. These guys are gonna be tearing up the league for the next 10 years. You ain't competing with them. What you need to do is make sure that you get the next wave. Whoever that next wave is, I don't know who it is. It's a 12-year-old right now, but you want to make sure they're in place on your draft board, scouting them, grooming them, and making sure that they already are familiar with what it is that the Lakers are about, so that when they get to the league, they already want to be here. They can see you putting yourself in a position to have them on your team now, scouting them and all that. So this is where my mind's at. The future, man. The present is over. To be honest with you, the present is over. If we're not positioning ourselves to initiate a successful and lucrative rebuild, then we're just being stupid. That's just all it is. And I'm telling you, if the good players that you like a lot see you making the right decisions, and they start getting a whiff around the NBA circles that the Lakers are starting to rebuild the proper way, they gonna start positioning themselves to have 5-year plans that land them with you. Just like Bron did. Guy like Wemby can already start planning out how the hell he gonna get to the Lakers. He ain't even, you know what I mean? 5 years before he even get here, he can start thinking about us. Because he know we thinking about him. And that's the type of stuff that the Lakers did with Bron. I don't know why they wouldn't do that now with him. Or whoever they want, you know what I mean? I'd imagine it would be Wemby at this point. I don't think anybody wouldn't want Wemby on their team. Obviously, but when he becomes a free agent, snatching him away from San Antonio. Not that he would ever leave there in theory, because they're just going to pay him $400 million. But hey, man, after he signs that initial contract 7 years from now, he only going to be 27. That's exactly when you want him. That's when you go after him. That's when you started all of this now, to put him in a position to have a dynasty-like team by then. You understand what I'm saying? That's where my head's at. The future. Not the immediate future. How can we make this unit better? This unit's trash. No disrespect to those guys, but they didn't show me they ain't. If they win a championship, we'd be surprised. Like, literally. Super surprised. You know, it ain't deeper than that. AD's just, he's comfortable, man. He ain't been hungry since he won that championship. Bron is about to retire, man. He's thinking about his son's career probably more than he's thinking about his own. All of that's wonderful, too. I have no problem with that, but I got to start thinking about us. This here. That's where we at. Think about this here. And how can we make ourselves champions in the next era? Because if you look at the Lakers, unlike some of these other teams who are striving to get a championship, or who won all their championships a long time ago, or who just got their first flurry of championships over the last 12 years, we win every single decade, man. The 00s, the 10s, the 90s, the 80s, the 70s. We missed the 60s, but probably made the finals more in the 60s than any other times. So it's like we are always there. We need to make sure that we always there again. One in 2020, you understand what I'm saying? We got to make sure we there for 2030, 2040, 2050, long past my lifetime. You understand what I'm saying? That's our responsibility to keep this thing going. So a lot of people don't think like that, or they don't care about that. They only care about what happens during their lifetime. I don't care about it. Listen, man, if I'm alive at 75 years old, I'm going to be rooting for this team. And I would have wanted us to be putting ourselves in a position to know how to have a healthy franchise back in 2024. You understand what I'm saying? As if we were building the right way back then and established the right culture back then, you know we can be able to build something at that point. And that's what this is all about. It's not about being just as good as you want to be in first year and that's it. Hell no. Sustainability. And if nobody else feel me on that, it should be Jeannie Buss, the owner, who's going to be making money off of all of those things. And her kids and her grandkids, whoever it's family, they going to be making the money off of what it is I'm talking about. That's how you make sure your team is worth $1 trillion 15 years from now. Do you understand what I'm saying? Imagining inflation goes crazy from here. You want your franchise to continue to be the excellent team that it is. And if you keep mortgaging everything and keep kicking the can down the road and doing everything for the moment you're in and continuing to trade picks because this superstar today wants to make, man, superstar gonna be sitting in a rocking chair 10 years from now. You still gonna be hurting off of the stuff that you allowed to happen while he was in uniform. It's not worth it. Maybe he gets you a championship, maybe he just walks off the court. I mean, I ain't doing all that. I ain't doing that. Just because we can't fathom nobody else coming in being as great as Bron does not mean that another dude won't come along. Because I'm telling you, Wemby already here. So it's like, y'all got to figure yourselves out. Are we going to pretend like this is the final generation of great players? Because I'm sure those who had Mike thought that way. Those who had Magic Johnson and Larry thought they was, woof, ain't going to get no better than this. And Mike came along. Then Bron came along. Kobe came along. Come on, man. I ain't even going to act like I don't expect something else to come along. They coming. It's not even worth talking about. It's obvious. Human evolution is a real thing. So, of course, there's going to be another Shaquille. Of course. And he's going to be able to shoot and he's 3 times faster than Shaq. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's coming, bro. What you got to do is just know that, believe that, and be in a position from which to be able to draft or trade for him. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm talking about. I ain't so caught up in today that I don't realize there's going to be something I want tomorrow that I'm going to make sure I'm going to have. I'm going to make sure I have it. And while everybody's telling me it's too difficult to build a champion, man, please. Got 17 NBA championships. Tell that to somebody who don't. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't just get lucky all them damn times. We did things correctly. And the LA sunshine attracted the best. That's how it gets to go, man. All that other stuff, that's other people's levels of what they aiming for. Oh, we can't do it. It's so hard. Yeah, it's hard for you. I'm sorry. We know how to do it, though. You put the right players in place. You make sure you have closers with the right mentality. You have the right coach in place, which we never get right. And get that right. You have the right scouts in place. And you got the upper hand. Why? Because purple and gold will attract the best every time. Every time. Ask Bron. Ask Cole. Ask Shaq. Ask Powell. Actually, we traded for Powell, but you get the point. It's going to always attract the best. Ask AD. And so that's what I'm telling y'all, man. Go forward with intentions of that being your true north. That if you do things correctly, the best can come to you. You don't have to worry about, let me get a star. How am I going to find another star? The Lakers organization will attract a star no matter what. And so long as they're not bad during his timeline, he will be there. You know what I'm saying? As long as they're not run incorrectly, he'll come. The only time we had trouble getting stars is when we were doing things the wrong way from a front office standpoint. It's the only time we had trouble getting stars. And that's what I want people to realize. Like, yo, we ain't never had no problem getting no damn stars. The only time we had trouble getting stars is when Jim Buss was running crap. Ain't nobody want to come here because he was that bad. And he ain't walking back through this door. Not if we have any sense. Not if we want to succeed. So Jeannie just got to be willing, pay the right people, and that's it. And I'm sure she is. It ain't gonna be hard to attract the best front office people and all that. We can do all that. We already got great scouts. I think we got great scouts. You just got to trust them, man. And I'd like to think they would have taken Cam Whitmore. I don't know what the official thought was on that. Who agreed with leaving him on the damn board? I'm sure it wasn't everybody. But that was a sign that maybe we don't have the right person in place. I'm sorry, Rob. You do stuff like that, bro. People look at you like you crazy, bro. Seriously. And I know Jalen Hood-Schifino's doing great things in the G League. I get it. He's hitting threes. He looks great. Maybe he turns into Magic. Maybe he turns into Jason Kidd or something. I don't know. But you cannot possibly be serious leaving Cam Whitmore on the damn board on that night when he dropped from 5 to 20. You ain't take him at 16 or 17, whatever we had, 18, whatever it was. You couldn't be serious with that. You could not possibly be serious with that. Based on what it is that we need, based on who we are and how athletic and how entertaining that kid is, there ain't no way you thought that Jalen piece was better than Cam. There ain't no way you thought that. No way you thought that. I'm having a hard time with that. If you watch any footage on either one of those two players, there's no way you walk away saying, yo, Jalen's a better player. Nobody did that. Nobody. Damn near fireable offense, man. I'm just being honest. Damn near fireable. So, hey, that's really where it comes from for me. That's what I have to say. I want my team to reset when it's time. When they deem it's time to reset, when they know they're ready, go for it. Pull the trigger on the reset, man. Start over. Start over with the intentions of getting as many picks as possible, with the intention of knowing you're going to win like 12 games that season, try to get the first overall pick in the draft if possible. Maybe that's not soon. Maybe that's not until 2028. I don't know. But have that already in place. Be ready. Be ready. BDL 44, I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.